we're not made from the same mold, are we? So today, I'm going to talk about being aligned with the rhythm of life. And it's actually part 2. If you were here last week, you heard me talking about how you could gain some self-worth in your life, self-respect. And until you do, your life just won't go the way you want it to. We all need to have some really healthy self-respect and consider ourselves worthy. And poet John Donahue said, "I would love to live like a river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding." Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We don't always know what's going to come around the next bend, but we can know that it's going to be for our higher good. Sometimes that voice whispering in our ear that's always trying to convince us of the best thing to do, the higher thing to do, we don't hear it because we've already got our minds made up and we know what we want to hear. So we're not going to hear that voice. And so we may get a click against the head, and the next thing you know, you're going to get a 2x4. And your life is just not going to turn out the way you want until you get it in rhythm with the divine. I love the thought of that. And I love the thought of a baby being held in the womb. And did you know that the baby's heartbeat will synchronize with the mother's? Isn't that cool? Isn't that beautiful? I love that. Just the way our heartbeat needs to synchronize with the divine, the earth, the sun, all that's divine. When we align with that and we get in with the rhythm of that, our lives will go a lot more smoothly. And we may be surprised at all of those gifts that are unfolding just around the bend. Now, I know these days that if you want attention on some of social media, or if you want to be your website to be selected, you need some tags. And I was thinking about what sort of tags we would have for someone to find us. We teach awareness, balance, communication, and oh, we have community here, fellowship, love, disease prevention, dis-ease prevention, faith, harmony, health, how to stay out of human conflict, intuition, spiritual awareness. The one I'm talking about today is synchronicity, and allowing that into your life. What happens when your life is out of sync, out of rhythm, out of balance, out of harmony? There may be too many decisions that you make. And did you know that before long you will have decision overload? There have even been studies into this, and it has a huge effect. There was one car manufacturer that made so many choices for selecting a car that there were like 2,000 choices if you went into the car dealership. And they put the most costly ones at the end, so that by the time you had made some of these more mundane decisions about the color of your seats and the different type things you wanted, the color and all of those decisions were the easier ones. And when it got to the more expensive ones, they were at the last. You know why? Because people were worn out and they just wanted this to be over. You know how that feels? Yeah. You're not in sync when that happens. When you've got decision overload, that's what happens. And a lot of choices out there by the merchants are made knowing that. They know you're going to give up and you're going to get tired and you're just going to choose something randomly, and it just might be the most expensive thing on the menu. So there's always decision overload, and it comes out in another way that's really important in the social world too. In Israel, they did a study a few years ago of the court system, and they found that early in the day that the judge was much more likely to give a person parole. And if he didn't have a snack and his glucose level, him or her, began to fall, then by the end of the morning or the day, if they didn't have a good lunch, they would just decide to throw everybody into the slammer and forget it. No parole. Isn't that amazing? And it was an incredible study if you ever want to go look at it. So it happens all the time. It's decision overload. We do it all the time. You'll find yourself feeling all the time that you've had missed opportunities if you're not in sync with your life, if you're not listening to divine guidance. There's a man named John Kelly, and he's an Australian. And when he was extremely young, he wrote a book called The Rhythm of Life. And by the time he was 24, he was highly successful, multimillionaire, and had written a few books. But he found that his life was running at such a fast pace. And although he was doing things he enjoyed, that he soon was sick and he could hardly even get out of the bed. Now, this is a young man that was running at such a fast pace that he became ill. He had chronic fatigue syndrome, and it was real. And so he was encouraging people to rest, as we encouraged you during the meditation. Allow yourself to rest and take care of yourself. We're not meant to be running from one thing to the other all the time. We're meant to take care of ourselves. You'll feel that you've had missed opportunities, but in the end, I don't know that there are any. Whatever we do in life, it's what we do, and we've come to become the best we can be in this lifetime. And perhaps there's no right, there's no wrong, but the way you can judge how your life is going is how at peace you feel. How's that working for you? Stress, dis-ease, fatigue, no energy, And we do know how that leads to illness. We can feel a lack of control. If you have a lot of drama in your life, you're around people who have a lot of control dramas, arguing, wanting to be right. That's a sign of being out of harmony with your life. And what you'll soon feel once you've aligned with your higher guidance is that you will learn to let those people go. You don't need to be with them if they're going to always be trying to throw drama your way. And as I said, you may feel that you have a lack of control, that there's something else that's driving your life, that you had no choice. Well, I'm here to tell you, you do, and I don't care under what circumstances you were born or what your early life was like. You have a choice at any moment to change that. Any moment. You may have been born into poverty, and you're saying, well, I just didn't have the chance that someone else did in life. Well, it would sure look that way, wouldn't it? And we always believe that. But with the spiritual, it's just plain not true. Perhaps you were standing at the pearly gates and you said, you know what, I think I'm just going to choose a life where I have the worst parents and I have to climb out of that. And then, you know what, I think I may even choose a life where I tend to have addictions and have a really difficult time climbing out of that too. So I want you to think about that whenever you feel that you're a victim and someone else's life is great and yours isn't. I want you to reconsider that. Think about the fact you may have chosen this. You may have chosen that to be a lesson in your life, an obstacle to get over, so that you could become a better person. Because you see, it's through the difficulties that we generally wake up to who we are. It's not the gentle nudges usually that get us. It's the really hard knocks that knock us down, and we have to pull ourselves up. And in the pulling ourselves up, we recognize that there's a higher way to live. And there's a strap I can reach for anytime if I want to. I don't care what's going on in my life. I can imagine this trolley strap right here, just like God. And I can hang on to it. And I can say, there's a higher point of view here. There's a higher way of seeing this. I don't care what's gone on previously. I can see that as a lesson and I can get over it. You may have had a lot of unwanted outcomes. It may have been hard for you. It may have taken 10 DUIs and pulling your driver's license before you were willing to get it. Oh, drinking's not hurting anything. I'm not hurting anything. Are you kidding me? You're kidding me, right? Your children have turned out to be addicts. You've lost your driver's license. You're losing everything in your life, but your drinking's not a problem. Okay, I see that. I knew a person that he had a difficult youth. He truly did. He had a stepfather that didn't love him. He left home at the age of 17, joined the Air Force, went through the school of hard knocks. He and his wife started having children, one right after the other, and he drank his blues away. He somehow kept a job, and I still don't know how, but he did. He kept a job, but every evening, every weekend, he drank. And you know what finally got him? He saw his children that were almost grown. They were alcoholics too. And they still are. But you know what? They've got a choice, just the way he did. But he didn't know, he didn't see it. But one day, about the time they were growing up, he decided he was going to put down cigarettes and he was going to put down alcohol too. And he did that day. And he lived another 15 years. He didn't have one more drink. He had a healthy relationship with his mother that he hadn't had since he was a child. He began a healthy relationship with his children, and his younger children weren't nearly as affected as the older ones, but he changed. He changed his life. We all can. We all have choice. We can choose at any moment a higher ring than the choice we're making now. So yeah, many unwanted outcomes with some of the choices you've made. A lack of peace in your life. Lack of prosperity. So how do you find your natural rhythm? As Sherry sang earlier, be gentle and kind to yourself, whatever's gone on. Be gentle. Understand why. Why? You've made the choices you have before. Give yourself time to feel and to heal. Release all the things that are keeping you from your natural rhythm. All of them. Bless them and let them go. A lot of times we hang on to something because if we truly admit it, we'll have to admit that we hurt someone badly. And I would just encourage you, if that's the case, admit it anyway and recognize that you can always heal the past. If they're alive, you can say, I'm sorry. If not, or if they don't want to talk to you, you can always say, I'm sorry. While in meditation, think of them. Hold them in your heart, right here. Hold them in your heart. That's how you know you're in sync with the divine. Your heart is beating with the heartbeat of God. And go right there within your own heart and say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. You can say that to yourself. You can heal your life. Identify what you're doing because you think you ought to. We talk about this regularly. What are the things that you're doing just because you think you should? You learned it as a child. I should do this. But that's not me. Spend time in the quiet, in the silence, so you can hear that whisper of the divine. And you can feel the hand of the divine as it's leading you onward to divine guidance. And do the things you love. How many people truly allow themselves to do the things they love to do? Larry's laughing. I know he does. Yeah. Do the things you love. That's where you're going to find your creative ability. And you know one thing you can't do? You can't rush creation. You can't rush it. It has to take its own time. If someone is rushing you, you can't create the same piece of art, music, that you would, could you? You just can't. I know Karen Drucker, who wrote the song that she writes a lot of songs that we sing here. And she wrote the song about taking care of yourself and resting. I will allow myself to heal. She said once that her minister at the church where she served the longest wouldn't get the title of the talk to her until like midnight the night before she was to perform all the songs the next morning. And she said she finally learned to go with that rhythm because she knew that she had certain songs that related to certain themes. And so she didn't worry about it. She knew the minister needed that time to create, to hear the voice, the divine voice that was coming through. And that was coming through in its own time, and it could not be rushed. It was a creative process. And that's what I do too when I prepare for a Sunday. And it comes when it comes. And I like to create my own slides, not all of the slides. Shelby does that, all of the others. But my own, I like to create them. And in the creation is where I come up with the guidance for what we will talk about on Sunday. You can't rush creation. And if I'm rushed and I need to give the slides by Friday, I'll just hand in one and that'll be it. And then I'll go ahead and do my own creation through Saturday and Sunday morning till I have what Spirit wants me to convey and what Spirit's voice wants to say through me on Sunday morning. And that's what I'm doing when I stand up here. I'm allowing myself to be a vessel so that Spirit can come through and say what needs to be said to this group on a Sunday morning. Creation can't be rushed. It comes in its own time. There was a woman that went to a workshop. She wanted to publish a book. She said, I've done everything I can. I've got a list of about 100 things that other people have told me. If I'm going to get a publisher and they're going to publish my book. And Clarissa Pincola Estes was there. She said, drop all those suggestions. Every single one. They didn't come from Spirit. She said, let me tell you something. If Spirit wants your book published, it'll be published. Quit struggling. Let it go. Go with the flow and invite God, goodness, the divine into your life. Thank you for your time.